So Eddie has a new book out today. We're thrilled. It's titled, We Are the Leaders We Have Been Looking For. In it, Eddie looks back at a series of lectures he delivered at Harvard over a decade ago that focused on Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Ella Baker. Eddie explores the question the trio posed: how to fight for justice in a post-civil rights era and in today's political climate. Eddie writes, quote, at the heart of the book is a simple formulation, almost cliche. If we are going to be the leaders that we're looking for, we're going to have to become better people. Eddie, congratulations on the book. We've been anticipating this for a long time. It is here today. People can go pick it up today. So what did you set out to do? I kind of set the table a little bit, but more specifically with this book, what did you want to say?
You know, really what I think we've outsourced really our responsibility for democracy for too long. We've outsourced it to politicians. We've outsourced it to so-called prophets and heroes, and we've given over our responsibility, our power. And so what I wanted to do, the title actually comes from Miss Ella Baker. And Miss Baker used to say, a strong people doesn't need strong leaders. Right? She wanted us to involve ourselves or engage in politics in such a way that everyday ordinary people, right, involved, indigenous to the space, would emerge as the folk responsible for transforming their lives. And so what I try to do in this book is find my own feet, because I'm trying to figure out my relationship to this tradition that made me who I am. What does it mean to be a Gen Xer born in the shadow of the 1960s? I think the 1960s, contrary to some folk, that's the greatest generation in my mind. And what does it mean to be born in the shadow of them and to try to find my own voice? I had to figure out, what is my relationship to Dr. King? What is my relationship to Malcolm X? How can I find my particular signature voice without engaging in supplication to them? And so these lectures are an attempt in some ways to call people to take responsibility for now, to take responsibility for the future.
And isn't it true, Eddie, that you focus on King and Malcolm and Ella Baker, that they did not start out to be leaders. Yeah. They became that because of activism. Dr. King left Boston University and went to Montgomery just to pastor a Southern church and ran into the situation with Rosa Parks. He didn't plan Rosa Parks and plan to do what he did. Ella Baker doing the work in Mississippi. Malcolm X finding himself after being a convict. And I was raised by some of the King men mentored by him. Jesse Jackson was a student leader that emerged in his staff. So I think the critical part of your book is We Are the Leaders that we've been looking for. That's how the leaders we look up to became the leaders.
Oftentimes what happens with prophets and heroes, they become larger than life, Don. Yeah. We think that they have qualities that are beyond us. And so then what we do is we follow them. And when we follow them, we give up the hard work of working on ourselves. We don't see, Joe, that Martin Luther King exhibited a courage, Doc, that's in me.
Right.
That this person revealed a kind of character that I'm capable of demonstrating in my own life. Instead, we have this nostalgic longing. Oh, if only we had FDR today. If only we had Dr. King today. No, we need you. And part of the challenge is to rid ourselves from being, engaging in supplication, from being fans in the pews to pastors, as opposed to being in the journey, So this book is a radical call for everyday ordinary people to take control of this democracy and to disrupt a style of leadership in which we give over our power to folk. Right, to understand that we, in fact, have the power.
And we expect too much from them, because once we exalt them, like Dr. King didn't say, I wish Thurgood Marshall was in Montgomery. He did it. And Abernathy did it. But then we exalt them, then we look for the flaws and say, oh, I made you this great image, and I find out that you don't wash your feet that well. I mean, we look to break down people rather than lift ourselves up.
Absolutely.
So Eddie, this conversation, especially what you were just talking about, the two of you, what has happened to us? Why have so many Americans lost the memory of what this country was and still is, and ignore what the country still is?
It's a really important point. I think, and I'm following here the historian Richard Slotkin, who has a new book coming out. He says that we're in a second lost cause. We're in the midst of a second redemption. And what was distinctive about the lost cause and redemption wasn't just simply the violence of Colfax, Louisiana, or Wilmington, North Carolina, in which there was literally a coup in those state governments, over those state governments. It was also, Mike, the assault on what we knew, how we remembered Reconstruction, how we remembered the past. And what's so interesting about it, when I look at what's going to happen to those kids in Florida and Texas and all these places where they're not going to be taught the full scope of our history, I get angry about my children, my black children and brown children having to learn that. But I actually get more angry about what's going to happen to white children. Because you know what? Those kids who were taught in the first lost cause, they turned out to be the adults in Montgomery. They were the adults in Mississippi. They were the adults in Louisiana, the folks who actually engaged in the violence of the Second Reconstruction. So I think part of what we're dealing with is what Frederick Douglass called, Joe, the horrible reptile in the nation's bosom. In 1852, that he said we must tear away. And we have refused to tear away that serpent. And it's literally eating the nation's entrails today.
You talk about, at the heart of this book, the need for us to be better people.
Yeah.
That is something that Republicans used to call personal responsibility. Remember? Republicans would always talk about personal responsibility, personal responsibility. Now it's victimhood. It's them being snowflakes. It's somebody else is picking on me. I would be better, but somebody else is, taking my place. It doesn't deserve it, et cetera, et cetera. But again, you say we have to be better people.
Yeah.
That goes to the heart of personal responsibility. Don't look out there, look here.
Jimmy Baldwin has this wonderful formulation, and I'm paraphrasing him here, Joe. He says that the messiness of the world is, in fact, a reflection of the messiness of our interior lives. That Southern sheriff who behaves so badly, he's wounded. He's hurt. And so the moral question of who do we take ourselves to be? What kind of human being are you? That question you asked Tom Cotton, who raised you? Miss Ella Baker, when she was losing her memory, whenever she would meet somebody, she would say, who are your people?
Yeah.
Trying to locate you, trying to ground you, trying to put you close to the ground. The moral question, regardless of the politics, the moral question of who do we take ourselves to be? What kind of human being are you? Joe, you and I disagree about politics on a number of things.
Right.
But one of the things I said it on television, you're a decent dude, right? And part of what I'm trying to do is not a post-ideological space, but what does it mean to put forward, to foreground the values of decency, love, and care, right, as the basis of our politics? And that goes to the heart of what kind of human being you take
He's
yourself
a
to be.
decent dude, and he can preach, too.
I heard.
All right, the new book is titled, We Are the Leaders We've Been Looking For, and Eddie's going to be back with us throughout the week to talk about it further. Such an important book. Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you,
Mika?
Eddie.
Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.